I've never said this on my YouTube channel. I've thought about it and I've wanted to. I never have. But today I finally got enough courage. I'm going to say it. So stay tuned to this video because I'm going to say it. Hey everybody, David Burns. Good to be with you today. Thanks for joining my channel. Beak Squad. Thanks for being a part of my Beak Squad community. We meet together every Thursday night for a live stream right here. You can check the link out. This Thursday, Jessica Fairfax with us, beekeeper, and my hostess on my live stream will be with us, so be sure and check that out. Today, we're going to be talking about how to become a successful beekeeper and what it means to be successful. What is the roadmap to actually become a successful beekeeper? Have you ever noticed that sometimes there are beekeepers, they just seem like they were born to be a beekeeper? I mean, they came out of the womb with a smoker and a hive tool. They are so successful, they've never lost a bee. They've never lost a hive. All their queens are perfect and live for 10 or 20 years. I'm making all this up, but it seems like that at times. They produce thousands of pounds of honey from one single little honey super. You know, it's remarkable sometimes. That's what we think, but that's not the case at all. And then there's other people that seem to lose every single colony they ever try to keep alive. It's just like people are frustrated. How do I become successful? Let's be honest. When you watch YouTube, there's a lot of successful beekeepers on YouTube. Hey, I'll be the first to admit that there's some editing to some videos that makes us look pretty good. I'll be honest, I don't always go out there and film out of my most defensive colony. I want to make a video with my most calmest group of bees that I can make a video in. And you know, there's times when beekeepers just don't want to videotape or put on YouTube all the messes that they make. Oftentimes we do look at beekeeping on YouTube and we see beekeepers sharing all this great information. They walk us through their yards, you know, and we think, wow, look how beautiful those yards are. Look how beautiful their bees are. How do they do that? How are they so successful? But oftentimes what we fail to realize is what it took them to get to that point and what we don't see behind the scenes of their frustrations, the problems that they have. Believe me, I've spent time with commercial beekeepers and they have a lot of issues and a lot of problems. So don't think that just because you see some beekeepers presenting themselves on YouTube, and myself included, as things like we have control of everything and everything is always perfect, it's just not that way. It isn't. Everyone who is a successful beekeeper has had their share of failures, disappointment, mistakes, mishaps. It just piles on. You cannot become a successful beekeeper unless you travel down the bumpy road of hard knocks. To be a successful beekeeper, you have to mess up. You have to make mistakes. All successful beekeepers have made mistakes, flat out failed before, many times probably, but they've learned to get back up and keep going. That's the key. So to become successful as a beekeeper, it's all about trying. It's all about getting back up, trying again. Over the last 7 or 8 years, I've been working with hundreds of beekeepers around the US, mentoring them to help them become successful beekeepers. And over these nearly a decade, I have been gathering data from their questions, what they go through emotionally, and trying to get their bees to be strong and healthy and not perish. And I have gathered this data. And one thing that rises to the top in all of this is that new beginners especially really do fear exploring, experimenting, and trying new things. They're a little bit of fearful of tinkering to see if this or that may work. They want to live by a formula. They want to keep their bees by a recipe. They want to read a book and do it just like the book says. They watch a video and they want to do it just like the person in the video explained it. And because they feel like if I don't, then I'm going to lose my hive and I don't want to be a failure. So sometimes we are so fearful of failing that we can't succeed. Wow, let me say that again. Sometimes we are so fearful of failing, it keeps us from succeeding. And that's what we need to understand in beekeeping. We have to learn to become comfortable with failing, with having a problem, with having mishaps. How many times have you started a hive and you thought, okay, to be successful in beekeeping as a new beginner, here's what's got to happen. The hive has to stay alive. I don't want to lose them. And by July or August, I want to harvest at least 1 to 2 honey supers and I want to extract a lot of honey that I can put in bottles and show my friends and family that I'm a beekeeper. I'm going to give my honey away to them, and I will then be a successful beekeeper. So sometimes people tie the destination into success rather than the journey. So to become a successful beekeeper, it's impossible because every beekeeper is on a journey. Take the most successful beekeeper, I don't know, whoever that might be in your mind, whoever it is, they're not really successful because even they are still on a journey. There's something that they're still wanting to change, wanting to do differently, wanting to downsize their operation, wanting to increase their operation, wanting to go more organic off of chemicals. Maybe they're wanting to go more off of natural beekeeping, more into treating their bees. Everybody's on this journey. So there's really not a destination that you finally arrive to and say, oh, I'm successful at beekeeping. I think all of us are on a journey. So in a way, to be a successful beekeeper means that you have to take success off the table in that sense, right? You're on a journey. You're learning. You're just continuing to increase your knowledge about beekeeping, and that's really what makes us successful. Now, I recently had a live stream. I have a live stream every Thursday night about beekeeping, and I'll leave a link right here. But I had a live stream about why people quit beekeeping. And I used a rumored statistics that says that out of the first year of beekeepers that start, 80% of them quit. Of the 20% that still hang on after 4 years, 80% of those have quit. I think that's statistic, basically. So it boiled down to 100 beekeepers start. 4 years later, you only have 4 beekeepers left. That's staggering. So what is it that causes beekeepers to quit? I mean, whether you call it successful or whatever, there are people that will not keep bees very long. And I've thought a lot about this because I want to help people stay in beekeeping. Listen to this. Quitting happens when we are not emotionally satisfied. I've quit a lot of things, and I understand that. If we are emotionally satisfied, we're not going to quit. Even if we are emotionally satisfied, we can be discouraged, we can have disillusionment about something, we can be frustrated, we can be overwhelmed. But if we are emotionally satisfied, we will hang in there. So beekeepers are quitting because they're not emotionally satisfied keeping bees anymore. And oftentimes what causes this emotional breakdown is a lot of things like self-doubt. A lot of beekeepers start saying, I doubt if I can really keep bees. I don't think I can do an inspection like I'm supposed to. I doubt whether I can do this mite inspection. I have all these doubts. I'm frustrated. It becomes no longer emotionally satisfying to be a beekeeper for people that finally do quit. Now, here's a part I wanted to tell you about that I've never said on YouTube before, and I'm going to say it today because I have enough courage to do it. Okay, you ready? Beekeeping never gets easier. It only gets harder. Now, wait a minute. Let me explain. Hold on. What I mean by this is that parts of beekeeping can become easier. For example, if you're brand new and you've never installed a package of bees, you're scared to death, and you install it, it's hard. But after you install the first package, the second, the 10th, the 100th package of bees, it does become easier to install a package of bees, right? If you make your first split, it's hard. Your second split, it's easier. The third is even easier. I get that part of it. I understand that parts of beekeeping, individual parts to it, become easier. But as a whole, beekeeping becomes harder. Now let me explain. Because as we grow in beekeeping, we start to do more things. Here's an example. Let's say that this year you were in your second year of beekeeping and you did your first split. You made a split from a very successful overwintered colony. And you made that split, it worked, and you're happy about it. Why does splitting become harder? Because as you grow in beekeeping, as you spend more time and have more experience in it, then you learn there's probably 20 different ways that you can make a split. And now you're thinking, oh no, I made it that way, but there may be a better way to make a split. So now you have to do more research. How long are you a beekeeper before you understand that how to use the Damare method, which I've made a video on, to prevent swarming. See what I mean? You can keep bees the first year and you're not really worried about swarming because typically the first year colony doesn't swarm. It can, but not always. But the second year, oh no, you got to have swarm prevention, right? Beekeeping is harder than it was your first year because now you have to prevent a swarm. And the third year, now you're more cognitive of mites maybe. So now you got to do more research and more information about how to control your mites. So as we grow in beekeeping, again, it's a journey. As we grow in it, then we realize there's a lot to learn I didn't know. I mean, I got to be honest with you. Every morning I wake up, I just go through a lot of literature in beekeeping. I go through recent scientific studies, research. I go through old information that I have just to keep my mind refreshed because as you get older, you forget things. And I just want to kind of remember what I used to know. And so, but I'm always reading new research. And so I'm constantly learning. And sometimes I sit back and go, oh my gosh, there's so much to know about beekeeping. You know, when I first started beekeeping my first year, I didn't know anything. That was back in the early 90s, no internet. I didn't have any friends in beekeeping. I didn't really know what I was doing at all, to be honest with you. A few years later, I still didn't know anything, although I thought I knew more. But now when I look back, even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I think there's a lot I didn't know 10 or 15 years ago, you know? We're always learning. But that's why it's important to realize successful beekeeping is not really arriving at a point of finality to say you're successful. Like, even a commercial beekeeper isn't going to reach a point of success because even a commercial beekeeper is constantly evaluating their techniques, what they can do better, differently. Successful beekeeping is a journey. It's not a destination to be reached. Because if it's a destination to be reached, we'll be disappointed when we get there, right? Have you ever been a part of something that you hoped you would finally achieve? Let's take the silver plaque back here. Somebody asked me the other day here on YouTube, what does a silver plaque mean? It means that I accomplished having 100,000 subscribers. Thank you all for subscribing. Bobblehead David is always encouraging guys to please subscribe. I appreciate it. But 100,000 of you follow my YouTube channel. Many more follow me, but 100,000 of you have taken the time to push the red subscribe or black subscribe button. I appreciate it. Now, once I get that, what does that mean? Am I successful? I don't view myself as a successful YouTube content creator because I want to do more content creation. I'm not going to stop doing it because I got the plaque. I'm on a journey. That's not a destination for me. That's a milestone that I passed on my journey. Same with beekeeping. Whatever you're doing in beekeeping, whatever your goal is, it should be a journey, not a final destination. Because if you're only after one thing and you achieve it, well, then you're pretty sad because there's no more journey left. What are you going to do then? Take up a different hobby? So you got to realize successful beekeeping means that you're constantly on a journey of learning more about bees and learning more how to keep bees. Why do beekeepers quit? I think for one thing, they are looking for that final destination of success. If I could get 1,000 pounds of honey, or if my hive would never die, if I would never lose a queen, if I never had a swarm issue. But when they do, they get dissatisfied with it. Now, quitting really boils down to us not being emotionally satisfied. That's really why people quit. Because if you are emotionally satisfied, then you're more apt to stay in it. Whether you're discouraged, disillusioned about it, whether you're frustrated, whether you're overwhelmed, if you're emotionally satisfied, you stay in it. But in beekeeping, it's different because people become emotionally dissatisfied. It's like, I don't like doing this anymore. I can't do it. My queen's dying. I can't prevent swarms. I can't get my mites under control. Why can't I get a hive queen right? Why do they keep rejecting my queen? And so that's just emotionally dissatisfied with beekeeping in general. A lot of people quit beekeeping because it's just too hard. They say it's too hard. I don't want to keep bees anymore. I'm overwhelmed. It's too hard. So when we were little, we wanted to ride a bike And so we pedaled, we crashed, we skinned our knee. Our parents gave us a push down the sidewalk. We hit a tree or a curb. We can't ride this bike. We're frustrated. But look, why did we keep doing it? Because we wanted to ride a bike like our brother or friends were doing. And so we kept learning until we got the balance thing down and we learned how to ride a bike, even though we didn't want to do it anymore. It was frustrating at first. Same with driving a car. You know, most of us drive cars that are watching this. And, you know, when you first learn to drive a car as a young person, you're kind of like, ooh, I'm freaked out about this. I have a lot of self-doubt that I can do this. I don't want to get out on the interstate. You know, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. But you want to drive a car so bad because, you know, that's kind of freedom when you're a teenager. And so you keep trying and keep working at it till you get it right. So beekeeping is the same way. I think a lot of people just get overwhelmed and, you know, riding a bike or driving a car has more, I guess, more importance in our life than beekeeping as a hobby does. So it's easier to quit beekeeping. Beekeeping is about a journey, not a final destination. It's not about finally arriving at the destination of having 30 or 300 or 3,000 hives. It's not arriving at a destination of making 2,000 pounds of honey. It's not about the final destination. It's about the journey. A journey would perhaps lead you to become a new beekeeper, and then you learn more about it, and then in your 2nd or 5th year, you decide to be someone that wants to raise queens. See what I mean? You're learning. That's why it's harder. You thought you knew how to keep bees, and now you want to be a queen producer. You want to learn how to raise your own queens, maybe. It's harder, it's more challenging, but that part is what makes it so fun. But if people can't see the challenge or the enjoyment of learning more about bees, they get frustrated and they quit. Another reason why people quit is because they have, oh, I'm excited about this one. I've been wanting to get to this one. It's a lot of people quit because they have selective hearing. Oh, that's so good. Selective hearing. Let me give you an example. I'll just make up an example. Let's say somebody loves to use OA, oxalic acid, in a vaporization to control their mites. And then all at once they hear that Dr. Cameron Jack from the University of Florida say in a study that he did, or the university did there, that OA in its legal dose really didn't have any effect on mites compared to the controlled hives that they did nothing to. And all at once, your selective hearing says, I don't want to hear that. What does somebody in a university know? My bees are healthy by my OA and I'm going to keep using it. That the closed-mindedness that comes from selective hearing sometimes prevents us from growing into being a better beekeeper because we just don't want to change our mind. It's almost like we're saying, hey, I've got my mind made up. Don't confuse me with scientific facts. My mind is made up, right? But man, none of us want our doctors to say that. I'm keeping to what I knew back in the 50s and I'm not going to take any of this new scientific information on your heart surgery. No, we don't think that way at all. We want the best, most recent research when our heart surgeon operates on us. It's the same way in beekeeping. We need to have an open mind to more scientific information that's coming out to help us in beekeeping. So instead of saying, I want you to become a successful beekeeper, I want you to become a beekeeper who enjoys keeping bees. That's what it boils down to. You want to be a beekeeper that finds beekeeping an enjoyment. So 3 things you have to do to be a beekeeper that finds beekeeping enjoyable. Number 1, you have to like yourself. Number 2, you have to like what you do. And number 3, you have to like how you do it. Let me explain that real quick. You have to like yourself. For example, if you go out to keep bees and you're doing an inspection, you drop a frame, I don't want to hear you say, oh, I'm so stupid. I hate myself. I hate myself. I'm so bad at this. I'm so rotten. I'm so bad. I can't do this anymore. See, you don't like yourself. You got to go out there and keep bees. And if you make a mistake in the hive, now this works for anything in life, if you're trying to be successful at something, if you want to call it successful, but you want to look at yourself and say, oh, look, laugh at yourself. Oh, shoot, I dropped a frame. I shouldn't have. I had a better grip, but whatever. Now I'm just going to fix it. I'm just going to learn from it. I'm going to fix it. I still like who I am. And then you have to like what you do. If you like beekeeping, if you enjoy it, if you like it, no matter how many mistakes you make, and you will, then you just bounce back up because you like doing it. And the third thing is you have to like how you do it. And let me explain that. You may be somebody that doesn't like to use any kind of treatments for your mites. Maybe more natural treatments, more integrated pest management. Maybe you're not using any chemicals, but you're using green drone comb, you're breaking the queen's brood cycle, green bottom board, powdered sugar dusting, whatever you use that's more natural, less chemical use. And that's how you like to do it. That's a third point that I want to drive home, is that you have to like how you do it. It's okay to do it your way. You don't have to do it like everybody else at the club does it, or everybody on that YouTube channel does it. You don't have to do it everybody else's way. Be yourself, do it your way. And so you may be the person that's too swayed by all the different YouTube channels that come out with this and that and tell you how you need to do that, can't do that. I see people being swayed all the time by watching YouTube channels on beekeeping. I kind of don't like that. I mean, some information is valuable, it's good, it helps beekeepers. I hope my channel does. But I do not own the corner of information. I don't know it all. In fact, what I practice now, I may change my mind in 5 years with new scientific information making revelation. I know I've changed my mind on certain things from 5 or 10 years ago. We have to adapt. That's just the way it is. So sometimes I think we make a mistake by having only one person that we follow. It's not that the person isn't a good person to follow, but it means that one person may not know as much as another person knows on a certain subject. I don't know as much about horizontal hives as I know about Langstroth hives. So I consult other horizontal people when I have a horizontal hive question. Horizontal hives were new to me this year. I mean, I've kept top bar hives, but I'm learning. So we have to be able to listen to other people, and everybody we listen to, we need to take with a grain of salt, because they may not be entirely accurate. I do watch some, this is going to be tough. I do watch some people on YouTube talk about beekeeping, and sometimes they are inaccurate. Get this, sometimes I've been inaccurate. Sometimes I've watched I made a YouTube video a while back, right at the front entrance where I put my camera there, and I saw a bee with something stuck on its leg, right? And I thought, that looks like propolis. I think in my video, I said, look, it looks like it's stretched out propolis. Now that I think about it, and somebody left a comment, they said, no, it's part of the goldenrod flower. It's part of a flower, like they got stuck to them. And boy, they were right. I was wrong. So, we have to be open and say, we just don't know everything. So it doesn't mean you should trash somebody because they said it wrong or didn't know that particular thing. Just take everybody with a grain of salt, because all of us are trying to do our best, but we're not perfect. Yeah, if you think I'm perfect, I'm not. But I try to do my best in thinking through things with each video that I make. But my point is, not everyone is going to be totally perfect and totally knowledgeable on every subject. That's why you need to watch more than just one person on YouTube. Now, even after watching this video, if you still are thinking about quitting beekeeping, I made a video just for you. Here it is right here, guys. I'll see you over there. And hopefully you won't quit, at least not until after you watch this video.